Where is your counterattack?
We are attacking! We are defending! We are counterattacking!
Hey everybody, Derek Ritter from Ritterkrieg, and today we have a really special treat for you. We have Mike McGrath, who, along with Stephen Pleva, had made 46 suggestions, rule change suggestions, things that they thought could be improved or were simply broken to MMP. All 46 got published in Journal 16. And of the 46, MMP made 12 changes. So, but the 12 changes, as far as I understand, not a one of them was the change that Stephen Pleva or Mike McGrath had envisioned. So, I've got Mike here, and we'll get to a 2-hour-long discussion with him on all 46 proposals. And when you're watching, you're going to see I'm going to put the number that corresponds to the case in the journal, and then I'll have the rule section after that and a description in a line of text line below the discussion. The white ones are the ones that MMP rejected outright and made no changes to the rule, and the yellow ones are the ones where MMP made a change to the rule, but like I said, it's not the change that was suggested by Mike or Stephen. So here we go. I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for watching. Hi everybody, I'm Derek Ritter from Ritterkrieg, and we have the one and only Mike McGrath with us today. There he is. And we're going to be going over some of the new rules changes from Journal 16 that were included. I know you guys submitted, 46?
I don't remember the exact number, but that's probably close. But we've
Okay.
already got stuff that we're going to add on top of that.
Oh,
so it's a
more.
living
Okay. Okay, excellent. And they accepted 12, correct?
Well, no, they didn't accept any of them.
Oh.
They changed every single one of them that we submitted, and they didn't accept any of them as written, or that I'm aware of as written.
I gotcha. And is this official errata now to the rule book, or are these suggestions?
Well, okay, so this list started because we couldn't get MMP to change anything that had gotten changed previously by the rules lawyers getting involved, and stuff that we thought materially was just bad. And so these are a list of house rules that I've played with for forever. And me and Steve got together, and we had been complaining about it at ASLOC. We end up talking about this stuff every year. So finally we decided, okay, we're just leaving MMP out of it, and we're going to make a common list of house rules, and people who want to play with them can play with them. People who don't have to. And then MMP actually heard about it through the grapevine because we got input from other people, and then they asked us to write it up, and so we wrote it all up.
Okay.
So these are house rules I use. I have an ASL in Florida every year. A couple guys come down, and we use these rules and have been using most of them forever, and we'll continue to use most of them.
Okay, so sorry. So for today's discussion, do you want to talk about all 46, or do you want to talk about the 12 that MMP adopted or sort of adopted?
I don't mind doing either of those.
Okay.
In fact, it's completely up to you. We can just go through them one at a time. And to be honest, I haven't even read MMP's official errata yet. So I don't even know what they actually ended up doing or what the effect is doing, because I just don't play with it, right? So essentially, I'm not even. I will say I am not actually up to date on what MMP in fact did change. I just knew they didn't accept ours as it was written.
Okay, so if you want, maybe we could go through all 46 if you have the time. And because I think this is kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity here. Not that I think I'll never get you back on the phone, but where it's fresh in your mind and fresh in everybody, the whole community is abuzz with these with these new rules and these proposals and the lack of new rules, and so if we could just go through them. I'm going to be honest, I prepared for the 12, so we're going to have to work through this together, but luckily with the power of editing, I can edit out a lot of the pauses and the hums and the I don't know what this is, and the reading it wrong. So all right, so let's just see, did I have any other questions before we start? First of all, with you and Steve, it's too bad we don't have Steve on here too. But with you and Steve, you guys collaborated on these ideas, and this wasn't you sent some to MMP and Steve sent some to MMP. This was you and Steve getting together and saying, "Hey, this is what we think is the best way to address this."
That's correct. So
Awesome.
so basically, I had my own version of house rules. Steve kind of had his own version of house rules. Like some of the stuff in here, I had not used until Steve wanted to use it, but I'm okay with all of them. I think everything that's in there makes the game a better game. And yeah, we collaborated. Then once we were kind of almost done, we got some outside opinions and suggestions. And like I said, this is a living list. So it's like there's stuff in there that other people brought in that like we didn't even realize was a thing, right? But it's actually in the rule book. So some of them just came from people, not even us, that essentially we added.
You have any honorable mentions? Anybody you want to name?
Not particularly.
Okay.
The Danish guys, Michael and Bo, were contributors, but I think in the stuff we read, Sean Diller, Phil Draper, Gary Fortenberry, Michael Hershey, Michael Hastrup-Leith, and Bo Simmons. So those are the guys that actually got on video calls with us, or I guess not video, but audio calls with us, and we talked about a lot of this stuff, and they gave their opinions and how stuff should work and stuff like that also.
That's an all-star team right there. All right.
So when we started this, we wanted to try to fix stuff that we didn't like or that has changed. So essentially, that's how it started. So do you just want to start with one?
Yeah. And I'm assuming this is in the same order that it is in the journal, because I don't have your master list. I just have the journal.
Yeah, no, it's the same because we did it by how it would appear in the rule book. So like the A's are first and
I got you.
stuff. And I'm not saying sorry. So I guess if you're watching this, you probably read it. So the first one is A7.212 VPM target selection limits. So this came about mostly because of vehicle freeze sleeves, right? It's like I think pretty much everybody hates it. The upper level stuff is even more egregious, right? Where you get a CE half track on the ground level stops the heavy machine gun up on level 2 from doing anything. So that we fixed that. So it's now location instead of hex. So, and I think actually MMP did adopt that one as part of that. The other part is like just moving a moving vehicle in your hex. So we try to take out the instant in time aspect of the movement sequence, right? Because you can't move everybody together. But it's like you drive a vehicle over there, you get in the guy's hex, he's frozen, you're in motion, it's very hard to hurt him, you got to pass the patsy, and then you got to kill him essentially to get rid of him. So you're usually rolling for a 4, assuming you roll with a patsy. And it's just very unlikely you're going to get him. And then if you do that, you've used up kind of all your firepower anyway, and you can't shoot anyway. But it's a moment in time, right? Because the vehicle is in motion, right? And in real life, a vehicle in motion, it would be in your vicinity for 15, 20, 30 seconds, right? And it would keep moving because only the fact that it ended its movement phase keeps you from doing anything, right? Now, if it drove up and it parked outside your house, then you would have to obviously deal with it, right?
Absolutely.
And to a certain extent, our opinions in real life, right? Which is, it's a game. It's not a recreation of combat. I've never been in combat, but to me, logically, if it stops outside your building and starts shooting your building, you're going to have to deal with it. But if it just drives past you, you duck your head for 30 seconds and you start shooting at all the infantry moving up, right? So that's kind of how we did that. So we force you to stop. If you wanna target selection limit somebody, you have to stop. So, and that makes it way more dangerous. I mean, way more dangerous. Now, I know they changed a little bit, and I haven't exactly looked exactly how they changed it. But I don't think it's quite as dangerous as stopping. Because if you stop, now you're rolling for a 6.
Right, you immobilize. It's almost 50% chance you'll immobilize the guy, and if he's open top, then it's so much worse. Yeah.
Right. So that was the logic behind this. You can still do it. It's just a lot more dangerous. Okay. So it'll reduce the.
What about canceling the fire lanes? So I'm not sure. Do you have to end your movement in the hex to cancel the fire lane?
I think okay.
Or is it the moment you enter the hex? And did you try to change that?
I think actually, if you basically. Yeah, I think the fire lane rule says your fire lane can cancel. But actually, that's an excellent point that, to be honest, I don't think we actually considered. So, should you have to cancel a fire lane if a motion vehicle ends in your head? Nicely done. You've already screwed it up there.
You sound like my ex-wife.
Okay, so we've already got a couple of these already run. Brett Hildebrand came up with a really good rule about the minor malfunction we're going to change to. Okay. We will look at that. Okay, next.
Awesome. All right. 1 down, 45 to go.
Okay. So, like I said, they did something with that. I don't know. So the snapshot rule. Okay, this is the one brought to by our European friends that probably 98% of ASLers don't realize. I didn't know about it until they brought it up. Essentially, you can snapshot at a unit leaving a hex that you normally couldn't see. So, like, if you say you're down below and you're shooting a guy at the front of a hill, right? He's on level 2.
Yeah.
And he goes back to another level 2 hex that you can't see, obviously, because of the crest line. You can actually shoot that guy as a snapshot going from one hex to the other because you can see the front hex. Even though you could not shoot at either of those 2 hex splines if he was bypassing from one side to the other. So basically, we changed it so essentially you kind of have to be able to see what you did or have to see him at some point snapshot. So, and then MMP, I think they just, their answer was to punt and it'll be revised at some point later.
That's
so I
exactly.
think they see the problem. They just didn't want to, deal with it in this method. So maybe they're going to expand, the reform of stuff. So
yeah, it sounds like they're going to change it much more than that. So they didn't want to patch it just to change it, just to change the whole thing later. Alrighty, and some of these, by the way, I noticed they're more clarifications than errata. They're just saying, oh yeah, what we meant by that. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah. So that'll get us through some of these a lot quicker.
Yeah, so some of them are exactly just stuff people didn't realize.
Right.
And that's one of them, because I didn't even know about it until they pointed out.
Okay.
So number 3 is fire lane. So this is one of my pet peeves, and I'm responsible. So the problem is you can't put out a fire lane if you fire and you want to just shoot, right? Because say whatever, so you're first fired and you got a fire lane and you're completely helpless.
Correct.
So
if you fire your inherent.
Yeah, say you want to shoot both, right? Yeah. You're shooting, you want to leave residual and you want to leave a fire lane in the same hex, right? So you shoot. So there's no other point in the game where you're completely helpless like this. You can always find a protective fire or whatever. You at least can do something, right? But now you're completely helpless. So now he can run up and place a demo charge on you, run past you. I mean, essentially you can't do anything. And it makes to me no sense why in every other circumstance of the game you can do something, and in this one you can't. So essentially, we just changed it so you can now subsequent first fire, final protective fire, whatever you want. You have to use the machine gun. You got to give up the fire lane, but you can at least defend yourself from being completely helpless. So I like this one. I don't know why MMP does it. They use stuff like, you shouldn't have shot your squad. Or it's just like, I mean, come on. It's like, why is a guy with a fire lane out the only unit in ASL that's completely helpless, that has conceivably could fire under other circumstances?
Yeah, I think it seems pretty obvious, if you voluntarily give up your fire lane, that you should be able to be free of the fire lane restrictions. So, if you lay down a fire lane and you do have the wherewithal to not fire your inherent, and then somebody runs up next to you and you say, well, now I have to because he's got a demolition charge, well, then another stack of squads runs up to you and you can't do anything because you shot at the guy with the demo charge, and now you're done. So yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense. Alrighty.
Okay.
Makes sense. Number 4.
So malfunction. So
Yes.
One of everybody's favorite thing when they roll a 12. So we have created a concept, and you'll read about how we had it originally, but then Brett Hildebrand came up with this idea that makes it a million times better. So essentially, we need what's called a minor malfunction count. So if you're not doing anything inherently risky like intensive fire or you have low ammo or anything like that, basically if you malfunction your weapon, if it's got a B number, the X numbers we didn't mess with, but if it's got a B number, you put a minor malfunction counter on it, and essentially it will give you a -1 on your repair roll. So that way, if you break a tank's gun, you can try to fix it. You don't have to worry about a 6 and the tank going home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I just think it makes for a better game. I mean, it's like I was playing Kamai Dusky up at Aslock. First 2 smoke shots of the game, he rolls 2 12s.
Wow.
So he loses 2 IS 122s. First repair roll, one of them goes home. The other one didn't fix. Mm-hmm. And it's just why, right? So we think it works better. It still may not come back, right? If you just roll in bad repair rolls, they could stay broken forever. But now at least you can take the repair rolls, which, to me it was always irrational. When you broke a tank's gun, you never try to fix the MA because that, a tank has so much more useful things to do than just shoot its main gun.
Okay, so what happens on a 6? Does it get a major malfunction? And then another 6 will disable?
If you disable your gun when you're doing something dangerous,
right?
Low ammo, and intensive fire is the big one.
Right.
Right. So if you're intensive firing
and you roll a 12, it's the same.
Your gun, you play with the rules exactly as they're written.
Right.
Right. If you're just randomly shooting and you roll a 12, that's just a minor malfunction. And a minor malfunction gives you a -1 on the repair roll. So therefore, you can't.
Oh, you can't roll a 6. Okay.
Right.
Oh, I
get
it. Yeah. So I get it. You're not increasing the repair number. You just have a DRM.
Well, yeah, because you get a -1.
Right.
So
you
now
are
1 or 2.
Correct. You're increasing it with a DRM, but you're not. I was originally playing it in my head like a 1 becomes a 2, but it's not. It's a DRM, so it wipes out the 6.
Right. Well, originally that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
But he came up with this idea. It's much better than our idea, and so we're actually just going to change it to his idea.
And then
nobody thought of it, but it's the perfect way to do it.
And then there's no need to write in there that you have to try to, because a lot of people say a lot of scenarios they say you have to try to repair your main armament because it's gamey to say I'm going to drive around and not even try to fix the thing because I don't want to get it recalled. So now there's no risk in it because it's only a minor repair. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right. Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so repair timing. This just essentially lets you do a repair roll other than in the rally phase.
Yes.
So, okay. So anyway, I want to go back to the actual malfunction. So Perry's like, just suck it up. So it is what it is. That's their opinion. Is 12s are fine and whatever. But I would say that 12s are way worse than snake eyes. He's like, good things happen and bad things happen. Well, way less good things happen than bad things happen. And when you roll a 2, it might be good. If you're a Russian and you heat a battle and roll a 7, now you're berserk. So a 2 is not good. So 12s are way worse than Snake Eyes in ASL. So anyway, repair timing, you can repair essentially outside the rally phase. You can choose to do it. This, keeps you from knowing going into your movement phase if the guy's heavy machine guns in the steeple is going to work or not till he actually tries to shoot it. So I'm not hugely strong about this one way or the other. We play with it, but in the MMP's response that it's a phase game, I don't really have a problem with that either. So
I really like this one because it takes the gaminess out of it, and you don't know if the other guys, there's a little bit more of that fog of war involved. And what about have you guys considered doing it with shock as well?
Yes. In fact, we do it with shock.
Oh, you do it with shock, not just repairs.
Yeah. I want to say that's in there too.
Oh, excellent.
So yeah, you can do it with shock also.
Okay.
But shock you have to roll at the end of the roll. So at the end of the turn, right? You can't just not roll your shock rolls.
Oh, I see. But the repair you don't have to. Okay.
Right.
I gotcha.
So okay, so that's repair timing. That usually doesn't come up that often. I mean, if you're prep firing, you want to prep fire, you're going to do it. It's really kind of just the defender might want to do it to curtail the attacker's movement. Vehicle bypass machine gun. So basically, this is to turn essentially bow machine guns and fixed coaxial machine guns and fixed AA machine guns kind of into the same. It's like when you're bypassing a hex, you're like between buildings, you obviously can't turn the vehicle to face the building. Right? Yeah. So basically, you shouldn't be able to use those in close combat. That's our opinion. MMP's opinion is, well, as long as it's mobile, you can use it. But to me, that only makes sense if it's in hex, right? If it's in bypass, it can't face the building or the woods, right? So we say you shouldn't be able to use them, period. They shouldn't count as a usable machine because you just can't point them at where the guys you're bypassing are.
Now, those are two different things, usable machine gun and a machine gun you can use in close combat, because like a true bow machine gun will not give you the -1 as the infantry attacker of firing on a vehicle with no usable machine gun, if I'm not correct. But that bow machine gun still cannot fire back at the infantry.
Right, that is correct. Yeah, I mean, you can't use it to attack anything. Yep. But it does get rid of the -1 DR for not having a machine gun. This changes this, so now essentially, if you're in bypass, it won't count.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's big.
So it's just to me it's logical, right? It's like if you can't point the machine gun at the woods or the house, you shouldn't be able to. It shouldn't count per se. Vehicle ambush. Okay, so this is one of my pet peeves, another one of my pet peeves. So a good ASL player, first of all, he screws the guy with VPN, right? And he stays in motion. And so now you can't shoot. But now, and he runs all the infantry up adjacent to blast you during advanced fire or place demo charges, whatever he's going to do to you. But now, so you survive all that, and you get to close combat, and he does his advance phase, and he advances all around you, but he doesn't advance in your hex, right? So now there's no ambush. So sensors, and technically the defender's got to have a huge advantage, right? Because there's a vehicle in his hex. So he still has a really hard time hurting you because you're an in-motion vehicle. And this is obviously part of the old rules. So, basically you wouldn't be locked under the new rules. But because there's no ambush roll, he essentially can't hurt you. Then he can't prep fire at you. Now you've advanced all around him. Now the guy's almost certainly dead, right? It's like he's got to move out of the hex because, there's an in-motion vehicle. So this kind of goes together. Now, this changes stuff if you play with all the rules, right? Because essentially you couldn't run up the infantry, or maybe let's hypothetically say the guy he cowered, right? So you did move up the infantry. The vehicle's actually still in motion, and essentially he still doesn't want to advance on you to allow you to ambush and escape. Right? So this changes it that if there's a vehicle in your hex, you don't need the infantry to advance in there to get a ambush roll. You can just have an ambush roll exactly like you would if there's infantry in there.
So this is where I'm confused, and I might just have been playing the rules wrong. I thought if the vehicle was in bypass, that it's automatic street fighting ambush that you get that. So are we talking about an additional ambush?
Okay, so this is from what the one thing that somebody said that MMP changed. So you got to remember the street fighting / ambush roll is not a real ambush. It's a modifier. So you get the modifier, but it doesn't allow you to withdraw like an ambush roll does.
Oh,
right?
right.
So the infantry ambushed the vehicle, or if you advance the squad in and then he got the ambush, he could either attack or not attack, but at some point, unless you killed him, he could leave, right, into an accessible location.
Right.
Adjacent, right? Even if you have street fighting, you can't do that. The street fighting, well, true street fighting, where you actually go out and come back, is different.
Yeah.
But if you have the modifier, it doesn't give you an ambush quote. You know what I mean?
Right,
You get
I know exactly what you mean.
-1, but you can't then leave the location as if you had ambushed the target. So that's why people don't move infantry in to because they don't want the ambush, because basically it's +2 for a vehicle, +3 for being buttoned up. The chances of ambush are pretty strong, and he doesn't want you to kill his infantry and then leave. So we change it so there's exactly an ambush roll, just as if there was infantry that advanced into the hex.
So would that be an additional -1 to the street fighting ambush?
Yes. So for us, it's cumulative.
Okay.
So if you played with all these rules as it is, you moved in a tank, let's say for whatever reason you left it in motion, but it's still in there. You probably wouldn't normally do that. So let's assume it stopped. So it stopped. The guy passed his patsy, so he's not pinned. He attacks him, fails to get him. Now it's close combat phase. Okay, so you roll for ambush. You didn't move any infantry in to help the tank. You roll for ambush. The infantry, under normal circumstances, would have a 3 modifier, or the tank would have a 3 modifier, however you want to look at it. So the infantry actually ambushes him, right? So now he can attack 5. The street fighting, I don't even like to use it. I wish they would just change the street fighting ambush. Street fighting is for attacking adjacent stuff. They should just get rid of the street fighting verbiage in Chapter A and replace it that every time you attack a bypassing vehicle, you get a -1 and it gets a +1. And then just get rid of split street fighting for attacking the adjacent target. The in-hex target gets -1 +1. So you would roll for ambush. If you get the ambush, you get a -1. If you don't get the ambush, you still get the -1 for attacking a bypassing vehicle. So you'd either get -1 or -2. We'd resolve the close combat, have the close combat resolved, and then you could withdraw, ambush withdraw.
And because you can withdraw, you have a chance of escaping all those squads that moved up next to you during the movement phase.
That have now surrounded you, and it doesn't mean you're going to get away.
Right.
But it's a big head start than that you're 40 yards in a better direction, shall we say?
Works.
So so that's it. So basically, it changes the fact that if you don't have infantry, you just have you still have an ambush roll. So that's what that's for. So the response is usually certain death, but usually when you bypass freeze somebody, it's the end of them at some point because all the infantry's run up and it's going to shoot him to pieces. And if he didn't die during the advancing fire, he's in serious trouble during his movement phase. So VPN extra +1 ambush roll, number 8. So this is, I think, one of the ones changed, but basically this is exactly what we were talking about. So if you ambush it, you get an extra -1. So we start with the philosophy that a vehicle in bypass is always more vulnerable than a vehicle in. And so because of that, and this is to take away some of the movement advantages of vehicles in bypass. So with that philosophy, this is where you always get the -1. So you can decouple the whole street fighting argument from from just the modifier thing. And like I said, they should just take out the whole paragraph in chapter A and just put it as a DRM on the close combat table, and it fixes everything. So their response is we don't see a need to distinguish with VPN vehicles and those with opposite when it comes back to ambush. Okay, so that's an opinion that I wouldn't necessarily agree with. So the VPN vehicles have a lot of different line of sight rules and this rules and that rules, and they're obviously more vulnerable from various things. So it would be more vulnerable in combat.
Let me ask you. So in the close combat phase, there'd be the -1 for being in bypass, and there would be potentially a -1 for ambushing. What about close combat reaction fire? Would there also be a potential of the -2?
No, because there's no ambush in close combat reaction fire.
I know according to the rules, but I'm saying according to what you think would make a better game.
No, we don't change. You're not having a close combat roll during the movement phase or anything like that. Well, I mean you are, but you're not going through the ambush thing. There's no is there an ambush during the movement phase. This is all just the DRM always exists, right? Yeah. The -1 +1 DRM exists during close combat reaction fire, subsequent, final protective. It always exists 100% of the time.
Right.
End of hard stop. The extra -1 ambush is just when in close combat you roll ambush.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So anyway. Okay, number 9. Let's see. And this is kind of a continuation on this whole subject. It's just always a +1 -1. Basically, there started being this controversy. I got into an argument with Jim Bishop a couple years ago in Copenhagen, where essentially the street fighting guy, I call it the street fighting argument, and MMP has kind of kiboshed that by saying whatever. But if you read the street fighting rules, the street fighting rules are all oriented towards an adjacent guy. And we bring this up. To me, you're not adjacent to yourself, right? Adjacent is not where you're standing. That is adjacent. You're in your own location. You're adjacent to something you can advance to. So the argument of this argument went down is basically like if you say you're adjacent to yourself, you can read the street fighting rules as to say you don't get the -1 +1 during the subsequent first fire and the final protective fire, right? But that's because the street fighting rules are designed for a different hex, an adjacent hex that you can attack, and you can't do street fighting if you're first fire or subsequent fire, right? You do it in your own hex, but you can't do it in the adjacent hex. Then if you read the Chapter A rules, the way that's written says if you attack a vehicle in bypass, you get the -1 +1 as per I don't remember it exactly, as per the street fighting rules. But the street fighting rules say you can't get it in subsequent first fire and final protective fire because it's not designed for in hex. It's designed for an adjacent hex. So we kind of eliminate the whole kibosh by just splitting those two things. Street fighting is designed when you're attacking a hex away, and in hex, you always get the -1/+1. Period. End of story. And MMP, I guess, sort of, I haven't read the exact rule, but I guess they sort of agreed with us on this one, although I don't exactly, but essentially they're allowing you to have the -1 quote street fighting modifier for subsequent first fire and final protective fire in hex. So that's where that stands. So anyway, A 4.1 AFV without vulnerable PRC concealment loss. Okay, so this gets to a thing where if you've got a dummy tank out there, right, and I shoot at it with a heavy machine gun, is it a target? Who knows, right? It might be CE, it might not be CE. If it's not CE, it's not a target, therefore you can't hurt it. You can't strip the concealment. But if it is a target, if the guy's CE, then you can strip the concealment. But you have no way of knowing this. So this just gets rid of the whole, is it a target or not? Because essentially there's no way to know, and it's just dumb. I mean, if you shot a machine gun at a concealed tank, it strikes me if you shot correctly, you'd still see the bullet striking the armor. It would be shredding the camouflage on the tank, whatever. So this allows you to just basically treat big concealment counters exactly like small concealment counters. So if you get a result on the IFT, pin task check, not counting the CE modifier, just counting the terrain bonus, you get a result, it strips the concealment, whether you're CE or not CE.
That's embarrassing because I've always been playing that way. I didn't realize that that it had to be a target. That I'd always shoot at tanks with my machine guns, hoping for a pin task check just to strip them.
Right.
And I didn't know that wasn't even the rule. So
so it's just a bad way of doing business. And here's another one. And then it's like it makes it easier to strip vehicles, which usually lose it quite readily on. Okay, you 100% got to disagree with that. If you can't shoot at them with the machine gun, you have to essentially shoot area target type. Well, anything that's AP only can't shoot area target type, and you can't get a concealment, so it's almost impossible to hit a concealed tank. So, and you can never get an acquisition. So it's just, I don't understand this. It's like, I question how much Perry plays ASL anymore, I guess, to be honest. So if you don't ever play, none of these rules ever bother you. So but anyway, so we think this fixes it. You know, you still got to strip it, then you got to do it. But yeah, 5H counters are not easy. It does strip the dummy tanks are the same, right? But the real tanks, it's much harder. In fact, actually, when you're setting up a defense, you often want to stay buttoned up with a concealed tank to make it much harder to strip your concealment. So, but anyway, so that's that. So, number 11, A 1.12. Actually, I guess they did agree with us on this one, because now that I think about it, they changed it. Basically, it's not revealed in the rule book what is meant. I think this one's almost self-explanatory, by temporary remove. So we just codified it. It's like it says what you have to reveal and whatever. When I play basically at home, I just say this guy's real. I don't even reveal anything. So, and in what we play in our regular group, I can just say take your concealment off. Like, so a hidden guy can strip a concealment. So, but that's just personal preference and how you want to play. But this just codifies that you have to show a unit, but you don't have to
show the support weapon.
Right, exactly. So detection casualties A.1215. This is so we started on this one. Steve led the charge on this one, and basically it's about, if you're running around with leaders stripping concealment,
Yes,
right?
all the time.
Yeah, all the time, because it's a great strategy,
Yeah.
right? Because you got, sometimes if you have spare leaders running around, they're great for it, right? Because he doesn't necessarily want to shoot at an 8-0 running through a stone building, right? And you're using that, and then you're assault moving up, or you're assault moving a concealed squad, and then the 8-0 runs up and strips it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. At worst, he shoots it.
That's where we started,
At
and we thought it's completely unrealistic that. Yeah, completely unrealistic that essentially officers or non-coms are running across the map by themselves to strip concealment. So we made it very dangerous. And then we thought, well, it's probably not that safe for a squad to be running full speed, uh, running into people either, right? So we put on here, essentially, it's like if you assault move, the game is unchanged. If you are not assault moving, if you're a leader, it's actually rather dangerous. So it does stop people from doing leaders unless you're really bold or have really a lot of extra leaders. But if you use a multi-man counter and you move in, you just take a pin check. If you're pinned, you're pinned. If you're not, you're not. And then we made it so it didn't. Well, barring a 12, if you roll a 12, it's casualties. But barring a 12, essentially it is what it is, and we made it so it doesn't activate the sniper or the mines, because that might blow up something like red barbecues or something.
Right.
So
that doesn't seem that bad. There's not really a lot of difference between searching a hex and running into a hex as far as casualties should go. So if I search a hex or if I run into a hex, you can make an argument. You can make an argument that you should pay a price in lives either way.
Right. Well, searching is way more dangerous
by the rules definition.
I'm sorry, say that again?
By the rules definition, but in real life, running into a building should be just as dangerous as searching a building.
Right. And even under our system, it's still not.
Right, exactly.
But the searching is really dangerous. And your TI, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why people don't do it very much unless they're like just trying to, search a giant building.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's really efficient, even if you're going to lose a house squad. Yeah. But, so this makes it a little more dangerous to run into somebody's hex. It really doesn't change the game that much. But we like it.
What's the difference between a leader and a multi-man counter in your rule?
In our rule, the leader rolls on the search casualty table.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so that
whereas the multi-man counter just takes a pin check.
Perfect.
Okay. So VPM and concealment. So this continues what our tirade against moving vehicles into hexes. So this was just a goofy rule. I don't know how this rule ever got started, but it's been there from the very beginning. So if you move a vehicle into a guy's hex, a concealed guy's hex, he can actually take a patsy to keep his concealment. Right? Yeah. But if you move it in VPM and you end your turn there, it 100% automatically strips it. Right? So people used to use their vehicles to strip guys' concealments. And essentially, in our system, you just get to keep it if you want to. You can keep your concealment and there's no roll. MMP split the loaf on this one, and I understand essentially now you get to roll for it, just as if it was in hex versus it being automatic. So an improvement, we don't think of enough of it.
That's at the end of the turn you get to roll for it. But what if he moves through it, then there's no rolls now?
Yeah,
or there's still a roll?
So if he moves if it moves through it, there's no rules as today.
Okay.
Right? It's only when you end and it's not the movement phase, it's the vehicle's movement phase.
Right.
So today, if a vehicle ends its movement phase in a hex with a concealed guy, it strips the concealment. So under ours, you would be able to keep it. MMP changed the official rules, so now the guy can roll for it if he wants to.
But what was the rule before with rolling for it? I thought it was when you move in, you get to roll for it, even though you haven't ended your movement phase.
Yes, but that's in hex. Well, actually, no, you may be right. Maybe you have to roll.
I always get this one messed up. Always.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think even VPN, I think you have to roll also, but if you end, it's automatic. I don't know. I'd have to get on the rule book on that one.
So now it would be you don't roll during the unit's movement phase, but you do roll at the end of the unit's movement phase if it's still in VBM.
I don't know. I have to look it up. Because that's what MMP changed.
Yeah. All right.
Right?
Yeah.
So they changed it where I don't know what they did. So only because I think I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
And
I have to be at the rule and read it because if you move in hex, it happens right away, right?
So you're asking the guy who notoriously counts on the guy across the table for a rules clarification. So I don't know the answer to that, but that's the way I play at least 50% of the time, especially when it's advantageous to me. So,
right, there you go. That's good thinking. Okay, I'm not going to get out the rule book for this. So, but yeah, I need to actually reread that rule.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so they changed it. I'm not sure exactly how they changed it and what the timing is and all that. But essentially, they made it better, but I don't think they quite went far enough.
Okay, I'm going to try to get some clarification. So I'll try to figure it out or read it or something.
Human Wave is so broken, and virtually nobody knows how broken it is.
Tell me about how broken it is, because I did not, until I read this, I did not realize it was broken. I know my buddy Tim, there is no time he is allowed to use it that he does not use it. He'll do it each and every time. I even bought him a whistle for Christmas so he could blow the whistle before he charges me. Yeah.
That's because it's a spectacularly good tack now. Yeah. So the Human Wave rules were the Human Wave rules, and apparently there was some issue with them, right? I read them back in the day, but nobody ever did it unless you were forced to by SSR or something, because it was just a terrible tactic. You know, you piled up, you ran. Hardly anybody ever did it unless they were forced to. And when they were forced to, then they read the Human Wave rules. Well, MMP completely changed it. And I think 99% of ASL players did not reread it after the changes because they never used it before and they're never used it again. And I didn't read it until somebody I don't remember who I was playing, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I'm the Germans. It's a city battle. I set up. I got my defense. He's the Russians on the attack. It's 44-45. And he goes, I'm doing a Human Wave. And I'm like, a what? I mean, literally, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So he starts doing his Human Wave. And he immediately starts spreading out and getting rid of the density.
Yeah.
So now he's I think he's got 9 morale. He's got 8 morale. He's elite guys, and the morale goes up on him. So he's got 9 morale, and it's a city fight. And he's spreading out. So he now no longer has the density issues, right? And he's got 2 waves, behind each other.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm and every time he's moving a unit, he's deciding what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this can't be how it works.
Yeah.
And so I get in the rule book, and I'm reading all the rules, and I'm like, yep, that's how it works. And it crushed my defense.
Yeah.
Because you get one shot at the guy, you're only shooting 1 squad, you're firing a 12 down 2, but the guy's got 9 morale, and, if you don't kill him with a 5, you're rolling a 2 morale check, there's a fairly decent chance he's going to be completely unaffected. He doesn't pin. So he just runs his group forward, get to my hexes. Then the second wave comes in, so now I've got a subsequent fire at him. So I'm breaking. Now I'm surrounded. So everybody who breaks is going to die. Then he runs up the rest of his army to point blank and obliterates anything that's left during the advancing fire phase. And it's broken. And I don't know why MMP did the changes they did, but they need to fix it. So basically, when I sit down and play a scenario against the Russians, I always dice for size. Pick a scenario, dice for size. Scenario selection phase should take 5 minutes. Just grab the first thing that looks decent, roll for sides, but if you're the Russian, you have to agree that you're not going to human wave me. Otherwise, I'm not going to play the defense, because none of these things are play tested for human waves. And literally nobody knows how good they are until they actually do it. Literally, you almost want to human wave every single time as you're the Russian attacker, because that's when you can set up for it on turn one. And it's just devastating. And so MMP has changed it from a mechanism, right? You put the human wave counter on, the guys run forward, you roll dice, right? The defender makes some decisions who's shooting at and stuff. Into a tactic where inside your human wave, everybody's maneuvering to get the best possible result. And that's not how it should be. It should be a mechanism. It should not be a tactic. And as it stands now, it's a devastating tactic. But nobody ever does it because nobody realizes how broken human wave rules are. So, but yeah, they're bad. So
before you tell me your change to it, I'll tell you two stories. First, like I said, Tim does it to me all the time, and he will try to set up consecutive turns of human waves so that where they end, he's still got what you need: 2 squads, 2 squads, 2 squads, and 3 hexes. So he'll do it sequentially, turn after turn, and the amount of ground you can cover is just unreasonable. But when you add in the other problems with sleazing, the VBM, you can sleaze the defender's machine gun positions before the human wave sets off. They don't even get to take the shots or set up the fire lanes or put in the residual firepower. And so as far as nobody ever doing it, I'm playtesting, which has Smith, a scenario of the Finns against the Russians, and his Finns are all in this defensive position. And I send my little T-70s or T-40s or T-60s, whatever they were, in to sleaze him. Within the first turn, I had 3-1 in close combat against every hex he had, and there's nothing he could do about it. He can't stop him, So, and then he ended up fixing that and putting in no human wave on turn 1 because of that. And like you say, the scenario had been tested, 12 times, whatever, and nobody had done it. And then the first time I did it, he said, "This is broken." So
yeah, no, that's exactly right. Because none of these, in fact, I'm convinced 95% of ASL players have never read the human wave rules after MMP did it and realized just what a crazy strong tactic it is.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what was wrong with the original human wave rules, why MMP changed it to begin with, but they need to change it back to where essentially you can do it. Right, and we basically just say you can't do it, period. Right, but we had some arguments you shouldn't be able to do it after 41 or something. But essentially it should be a mechanism, right? You set it up, you put a counter on which way the thing's going. Everybody's got to stay in their lane. There's no decision making after you declare the human wave. Now there's a ton of decision making inside the human wave, and it should not be like that. It should be all the decision making should be at the beginning of it. And I would say that they should change it so you can't do it after 41, or you can only do it if an SSR allows it, or something along those rules. We just basically take it out, so you can't do it. So that's the human wave. So, and for whoever listens to this, feel free to experiment with it, and you'll only do it to your opponent one time when your opponent go, okay, that's it for you.
So your suggestion for this was not even during Barbarossa, unless by SSR, because it says through 1940. So they can do it against the Finns, and they can do it against the Poles, but not against the Germans.
Okay, so really we just made it I basically just banned it.
Right.
But we had some pushback on people who want to ban it. They just wanted to curtail when it could happen.
Yeah.
But essentially, it boils down to we weren't going to rewrite anything in the rule book. And the human wave rule needs to be completely rewritten. So for our house rules, you just can't do it. Right?
Yeah.
So basically, people just have, it's like I said, when I play a scenario, if I'm playing the defender against the Russians, you have to agree not to do it. Otherwise, we're going to pick something else. So, but anyway, but yeah, the whole human wave rules need a gigantic rewrite from the ground up. Okay, so vehicle crew control. A lot of scenario designers are doing this. So when your tank gets blown up or you can't abandon a tank at the end of the game. Perry talks about Japanese crews. You can make an exception to that, but that's a valid point. He actually makes a good point with there that we didn't think of. But anyway, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of guys are doing that. That's like a little side rule that is really not that important. Won't change that much. Search and roam bonus. I think this is another one they changed. As I recall, somebody said something about this. But essentially, you can't, run 8 hexes down the road and then on your 9-point search all the thing out.
Makes sense.
Wall advantage. So this comes because basically you can take a wall advantage counter off any time. So it really doesn't affect that much except for bocage.
Bocage, it's devastating. Yeah.
Right. Because so hypothetically, you're the defender. You got wall advantage. The attacker opportunity fires his big machine gun stack, and then he's going to run a bunch of guys forward, force you to shoot, and then he's going to shoot you in the advanced fire phase. So essentially, a defender can sit there and shoot 10 times, get a ton of rate of fires, do whatever he does, and then as soon as the advancing fire phase starts, he just takes the counter off him, and now you can't see him.
Because he's in the building or the woods behind the bocage.
Right. So and this comes under, we kind of feel like the entire bocage rules are broken. So, and we rewrote some bocage stuff just because a lot of people who are in our group thought that the bocage rules favor the attacker more than the defender, which I didn't necessarily agree with, but I didn't necessarily feel that strongly about it. So anyway, so we changed it so you can't give up wall advantage basically if you're marked with a fire counter. So, and that's where that came from. So, but anyway, I was going to throw in a little, just because I played this game recently, it's my tactical tip for the day. When you're on the attack, or I guess even on the defense, but most on the attack, and you're running around, whenever you can, grab the wall. And even if you don't need to grab the wall, right? Because there could be a hidden guy on the other side of the wall that you now take it away from him because he's got to give it up. Or if there's a gun behind the wall, he's got to reveal the gun to keep the wall advantage counter. You can use it to figure out which guys are dummies, although you don't want to get snake bit by that because it doesn't guarantee they're dummies. But usually if they give up the wall and they're in open ground, they're probably dummies. So you can do a lot of actual feeling out the defense, for lack of a better word, if there's a lot of walls around, just by having guys, if you're in open ground and you don't declare wall advantage, there's a hidden guy on the other side of the wall. If you don't actually declare you're taking wall advantage, then he's still got it. But if you declare it, he's either got to give it up or reveal himself or whatever. So, but anyway, so you can actually learn a lot of stuff by just trying to take wall advantage. But anyway, so that's where the wall advantage comes through. The wall advantage rule comes from. So the next one. Now we get into the bocage rule.
Before we go there, just one 2 comments on that. One was you mentioned the defender can do all this shooting and then drop the wall advantage. The attacker can too, because they can prep fire and then drop the wall advantage. And then in the defensive fire phase, they can't be shot back at because they're in that building or in that woods. And just to clarify, what we're talking about is not when you're simply behind a bocage hex side, but when you're behind a bocage hex side with something else with positive TEM in that hex. You're allowed choosing one or the other. So once you drop it, then you go to the building. If it's just an empty hex with a bocage, you can't do it because it's mandatory wall advantage. But the other funny thing is, if you break, then you no longer have the wall advantage. You're no longer visible either. So it gets really screwy. So
that's very good. Very
yeah.
good.
Sorry.
Okay, vehicle bog. So essentially, bog does not have a DRM for. Okay, am I screwing this up? I don't think bog has a DRM.
It does not. It's a 12.
Like,
It's the regular. Yeah.
Yeah. So a tank fully tracked vehicle going over a bocage basically only bogs, assuming normal ground pressure, on an 11.
Correct.
Right? Which is way too hard to bog. Right? I don't know if you've ever been to Normandy, but bocage is crazy. I mean, some of this stuff is like 10, 12 feet tall.
Well, as far as I know, they couldn't even do it till they got the Cullens invented. And I mean, you just couldn't do it. But oftentimes you'll be playing a scenario and you get a dozer and you get a bunch of tanks and you just drive the tank. You don't even wait for the dozer because the dozer takes your whole turn to create a breach. But a tank goes through it, is it quarter or half? So why even wait for the breach? Because you're only going to bog on an 11, unless you're a Panther or something,
So that's what that for. We thought it should at least be, a reasonably decent chance to bog.
Yeah.
So the next one essentially allows you to, and this is part. We had a lot of pushback about the whole wall advantage thing, so we forced the defender to actually suffer through the advancing fire shots. So the defender, now you can shoot, if you have wall advantage in bocage, you can shoot and keep your concealment for most stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty, it just makes it harder to.
Oh, wow. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. Well, it's not as huge as you think it is. It's like, yes, it's nice to be concealed, but, you can still be hurt. If you can be seen by any other angle except through the bocage, then the thing. And the attacker gets the same thing, too.
Oh, the attacker does, too. So the attacker gets to keep the concealment when shooting?
Yeah. Basically, anybody who shoots through just a bocage. Now, it won't help the attacker nearly as much because usually the defender doesn't have a huge stack waiting for you to be unconcealed, right? Just due to the way the game works and stuff. I mean, in some situations you might, but usually if you have a stack, you're shooting first. So
yeah,
or your opportunity finally. Bocage crossing concealment loss. So this is more kind of punishing the attacker. So bocage, for those listeners who have not actually been in Normandy, bocage is mostly. They line roads. They're probably anywhere from 4 to 8 feet tall walls within trees on top of that. So to get over that without a thing, you're going to have to climb way up and be visible and then go back down. Well, in ASL, doesn't particularly matter because if you're moving into a wheat field, essentially you think. But if you were in real life, you would be above that and they would see you going over the wall into the wheat field. So essentially, that's where that comes from. It's to make it a little harder on the attacker. But again, the bocage rules need another complete rewrite too, right? So this is all just kind of like a patchwork for something that needs a complete rewrite. And again, we hope MMP will do a version 3.0 of the rules and fix the bocage rules, fix the human wave rules,
Do you know if MMP is planning a rewrite of the bocage rules, or if have they mentioned anything?
Not a clue. I am not involved with MMP whatsoever.
Okay.
I mean, I know all the guys. I think Kurt and Brian, and this is my viewpoint. I have nothing official and no exact. But Brian and Kurt mostly do the play testing and the running and stuff, and I think Perry's the one who really controls the rule book. So, but that's just an opinion. But I don't know what goes on in the running of the company or anything. I mean, I am completely out of the loop, so I'm not a good source, and that could all be 100% completely wrong. So, but part of the reason I feel that way though is because whenever there's a rules question that comes up, everybody contacts Perry. So,
Right.
And Perry's the one who wrote the response to this. So, okay, so that's that. There's exceptions, like if there's a building in the way or woods in the way, you keep your concealment, or if you're going through a breach in the bocage, you keep your concealment stuff there. Okay, foxholes and crests. So this is another one of the huge ASL problems from the very beginning, that essentially foxholes are completely broken. Nobody uses them because they're death traps.
Correct.
Right? Because if you're in one, it generates a shot, but if you're just standing, we'll pretend it's in a woods hex. If you're just standing in the woods hex, it doesn't generate a shot. You just move away. So we thought about how this to do a lot. We got input and stuff, and we think that, or we came up with what we thought was the easiest way, was you just don't pay one to leave. Because when you think about it, excuse me.
Bless you.
When you think about it, and Perry argues this, but if you're in a foxhole, I was in the military, it takes and I've dug a lot of foxholes, it takes absolutely no longer to get it, well, maybe my most minutest of times to get out of a foxhole and start running as it does if you're prone behind a tree to stand up and start running. It's almost the exact same. So it shouldn't take nowhere near a quarter of a unit's movement to get out of a foxhole. And it fixes the whole generating a shot thing, right? You just move away just like if you were standing in the woods. And obviously if there's artillery coming down, you're more vulnerable, so you take that. Residual, you take that. But essentially you just walk away. It actually works really well. It makes foxholes usable again, and people use it. We left the lost to move into one the same, because where it's easy to leave, if you were just moving into a location with a bunch of foxholes scattered around, it would take you a little time, right? Because not everybody can jump in the first foxhole. You'd have to spread out, whatever it gets set up. So we left that. Perry makes the argument that it takes a lot longer to leave them, so they change it. I guess you can now. I have not read the changes, but this is what I understand. This is one of the changes they made. Essentially, you can assault move out of it and not generate shot. But if you move out of it, you do get shot. So, but that's me. Again, I emphasize I have not read the official stuff on this yet. So, but we think it works. We think our way works great. And
so I was confused on this one. So I wasn't sure if what they were saying was you no longer get the -1 for moving in the open, or if you can't get shot at all when you leave the foxhole. So I mean, other than the hex you're going into. No. In the errata. No, I know the regular rule is you get hit with a -2 when you're getting out, unless you're assault moving. It's a -1, assuming it's an open ground foxhole hex. So it would be a -1.
So I can't even comment on what the new official rat is, because I literally haven't read it yet.
Okay, all right. Okay, but I understand your rule. It sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Ours just basically treats it, when you're leaving, you treat it just like any other hex you walk out of, right? It's like you can get snapshot out of it, you get whatever, but essentially it doesn't generate a shot. It's just like any other hex in the game. Leaving the foxhole has no impact. And crest status also.
Yeah.
22, row houses. This is a rule most people don't know about, and I only found it out either last year or the year before that. So Gary Bartlett came across this. Most people don't. This is another one that most people don't know exists. So if you have two row houses that sit beside each other, right? But they're two separate buildings.
Right.
The way the actual rule reads, if you have a guy in one end of one roadhouse and a guy in one end of the other row house, even though they are adjacent for all purposes, they can't fire group.
Correct.
And really, it's just an oversight when they wrote the rule that you can't fire group when there's a black bar between.
I think this is a case where it's a clarification, where it's
Right.
so obvious we don't even need to, do a deep dive into this. Yeah.
I think on this one, MMP actually agreed with us.
They fixed it. Yeah.
Yeah, and fixed it. So the next one is wire ground pressure. So this is the bog roll. So a king tiger running, we feel that a king tiger running over a wire counter should not have a 6 times greater chance of bogging than a light tank running over a wire counter. So MMP disagrees with this. I'm not sure why, but it just didn't make any sense to us that a heavy. In fact, kind of seems to me like
I think it should be the opposite.
The first, yeah.
Yeah. A king tiger's track might be,
Yeah.
maybe this wide. A piece of wire isn't going to tear through that, or throw it off. But
it's enormously wide. I didn't even realize they have like double sets of roller things.
Oh yeah,
They're in Belgium someplace.
Yeah, it's in La Glaise. I was there last year with Ulrich.
Yeah,
we got some.
Everybody should make that tour to the Ardennes. It's magnificent.
Oh, and that thing, by the way, Jack Daniels took us for a tour before Aslock, I believe, a couple years ago, of one of the closed military museums. So it's not open to the public. And inside of there was an elephant from Sicily. And it was the most massive thing I've ever seen in my life. And then we get to La Glaise, and I say to Ulrich, I go, this thing's bigger. This thing's bigger than an elephant. And I call up Tim. Tim's like, no way, elephant's bigger. Sure enough, the king tiger is bigger than the elephant. It is just such a monstrosity you don't appreciate until you're standing next to it. And you talk about climbing onto it. It's almost impossible to climb onto that thing. It's just so high. It just, I don't know. Yeah, they're big.
Yeah. Everybody should get there. And I will tell you, for everyone who's gone to Bovington, which I always thought was the most premier armor museum in the world, the French one I want to say it's in Samar, that's better.
Yeah.
And it is magnificent. So, but anyway. So we didn't think that was correct. And obviously MMP disagreed with us. So 24 wire removal. This is to stop people essentially from driving tanks into wire hexes and then just start changing their vehicle cover art trying to eliminate it. So they did something with it. I don't remember what, but whatever. 25 roadblock extensions. So this is another one that most people don't realize. So the rule lawyers got involved in this, and I would say maybe a year or 2 or 3 years ago. And now the roadblock extension block line of sight on to essentially the hex behind the roadblock, right? They've always kind of blocked line of sight before, but now it blocks line of sight. So if you think about it, you got a guy sitting behind a roadblock, right? And you go directly down the hex line. Everything's wide open, right? Except the 2 buildings. Let's say 2 buildings at the row line. There's no other terrain on the map. So you go 7 hexes out, 8 hexes out. It's right on the hex line. So if that guy shooting is 1 hex over more, it actually hits the roadblock in the extension hex versus the hex. Even though if the roadblock wasn't there, it could completely see that hex. So it sets up a bunch of goofy lines of sight where essentially you can't see the guy behind the roadblock, even though you can 100% see the guy behind the roadblock, right? Just so that. So this just changes the rule that if you're behind the roadblock, the extensions don't matter to CE.
Oh,
So,
I think I understand. I think I understand what you're saying, because the line of sight is going to go through the building hex where the roadblock extends, which is not the hex that the unit is in. So
right.
so technically, you could only see the unit if he was in the building hex, the bypass part of the building hex, instead of the roadblock. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
So,
Yeah.
and I don't know why. Well, Perry now says they're not sure who the Rolls lawyers are. If they'd like to, I could send them a list. And but they didn't. But they didn't think it needed anything.
Do you think it was like articulated okay? Because that seems pretty straightforward. That you'd say, hey, yeah,
You
this part is broken.
I will say they did not contact anybody, as far as I know, if they didn't understand anything. This is the house rules we play with, and we'll continue to play with. The Pleva OBA rule. There's a bunch of other systems out there. We like this one kind of the best. It kind of falls apart if you're playing longer than an 8 or 9 turn game. Um, there are other ones out there that are kind of good too. It just if you draw 2 red cards, you're not whatever. And then we change a field phone where it can be repaired. It doesn't go away on the 12. So, but it's kind of self-explanatory. Um, Pre-register. So if you pre-register a hex, we didn't feel that you obviously want to pre-register that hex because you want to do something with that hex. So the fact that there's a concealed guy in there, we didn't think it needed to have an extra draw. They disagreed for whatever reason. I think it makes complete sense because you're just trying to smoke it, right? Whatever. If
Was
what do they
was
say?
your was your suggestion only for when you're firing smoke, or when you're firing for
Yeah,
IFU?
it's just no, it's not just smoke. It's like when you pre-register a hex,
Yeah.
you don't have to draw an extra chip.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what kind of ammo you're bringing down, or
Okay.
whether it's a smoke mission or a HE mission or white phosphorus, whatever. You just if you go to the trouble to pre-register it, you don't have to draw the extra chip for bringing it down. Okay. 28 DFF BFF process. Which one is that? Oh, so this is us codifying a couple things. So they never kind of say in the rule book when you can go CE and button up, right? It's kind of never. Can you go CE and then immediately use the fact that you're CE to do faster down the road before the guy can shoot at you? That kind of thing. So this is us just simply saying this is the order you have to do things in. It's right. You change CE button up status, then you expend movement point, then you get to defensive fire, then you get to bounding first fire. So it's just codifying a lot of gray area in the rule book about when you can go CE and when you can't go CE. I actually don't like this. When we had disagreement on this one, the way I play, actually, you do change C button up status after the movement point. So that way you can't derive any benefit from being CE or buttoned up until you've actually suffered the fact that you have become more vulnerable, right? You can't use your CE status to smile off your smoke dispenser until he got to shoot at you. So, but it's that's kind of like the flavor of however you want to play it, right? So, I don't think they
There.
did anything with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they did. Uh,
They did.
Hold on.
What did they say?
You're talking about Rule 28, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Uh,
Well, I know we ran into some trouble. Like you have a tank, and you're like, I want to fire some smoke. So you go, I'm going CE, and you fire smoke, and oh, you roll a 10, so you have no smoke. So you never took the shot. Well, now I'm going to be moving, right? And I don't know if I'm doing this right, or my grasp of the rules is so poor. But now I'm like, well, I don't want to be CE anymore. I never I never took
Right.
the
Yeah,
shot. So why am I CE? And I don't want to move CE, now that I'm moving because I got no smoke. So it was all kind of a mess. I think once you commit to CE, and I'll tell you something, if you just pop out there, you should have to spend maybe a movement factor to look around and take advantage of the fact that now you're CE. So maybe it should
Yeah.
be at the end of your movement factor or movement
Yeah.
point instead of before. So
Yeah. So I think MMP is wrong in not wanting to codify anything,
hmm
but yeah, the whole adding complexity argument in ASL is, it's probably the most complex game there is in the world. It's like that's kind of a hollow reason not to do something. Um, Intensifier. So Perry felt obligated to write this entire paragraph about an intensifier because the intensifier rule is broken. So, and here's why it's broken. So, intensifier should not be the same as subsequent first fire, right? It's like AT crews were, you know, you're shooting at a vehicle. In the ASL, there's all kinds of reasons that. I mean, you're not going to shoot it. You may have AP only, so you can't shoot at infantry. You're worried about the tank. His whole argument completely ignores the fact that what are you going to do if the tank never moves? The guy you want to shoot at never moves, so you never had the opportunity to shoot at him during the movement phase. So you can only shoot at him in final fire phase. So, but then you
he's not
can
adjacent.
so it's just there's no reason to do it this way. It's like the American 76L gun can never change its covered arc and shoot, right? Because it has no chance of retaining its rate of fire, and it can't intensify. Um, Tanks that have no intensifier suffer no penalty because you can't intensify. So there's no reason this rule to exist. I mean, it adds nothing to the game, and it kind of screws up, in my opinion, all kinds of things. And this was the rules lawyer getting into it. He says that this didn't happen 20 years ago, and I will tell you, 20 years ago, nobody played it like this. Nobody. And so then that came along. I think if you just try to split intensifier from subsequent first fire or final protective fire or anything like that, it works absolutely fine. And to me, it's a no brainer.
Let me ask you a question. If your anti-tank gun did not fire during the movement phase, and then it's the defensive fire phase, unmarked, and takes a shot, loses rate of fire, wants to intensive fire again, even though he's marked final fire instead of first fire, are you advocating for that second shot? Just like in prep fire, you can. Okay, good. I just want to make sure I understood what you were proposing.
You're basically changing a gun in defensive fire to just being
a gun in prep fire.
Yeah. Right? It can do whatever it wants. It can change, it can rate of fire, it can do all this. And just like in prep fire, assuming you're otherwise able to, you can intensify. And there's no range restrictions because an anti-tank gun doesn't want to shoot, it wants to shoot at the tank. And the chances of the tank being adjacent to it are pretty slim. Right? So anyway. So obviously Perry wrote that up. They don't agree. Whatever. So acquisition tracking, this is getting rid of some of the gamey stuff in ASL. So basically, you have this key location, a gun's firing at you, you are going to end up with a huge stuff in there. So he wants to get an ACK in it. So, or say he's got an ACK in it. Basically, the last guy, right? So you move a bunch of stuff out of there that he can't see. But the last half squad sitting in there with the acquisition on it, then move someplace you can see. Right? You have to track that guy.
I didn't know that rule. I did not know that. I would just leave it in there, and I guess I was breaking the rules. Yeah.
Right. That's what you want to do. Yeah. You want to leave it in there. You know all those guys are going to advance back in there during the advance phase, and that's where you want the act. But he can drag it out of there. And goofy. I mean, what is the point of that? I mean, if the gun crew didn't want to fire at the 3 guys that are staggering halfway out of the building, why do they have to track the gun over it? So, and whatever, this is another one of those responses. Perry doesn't think that's gamey. Apparently, Perry doesn't understand the definition of gamey. Okay, back to the war.
Here we are.
So that's acquisition. So 31 target size and smoke thing. So, I mean, fire smoke and white phosphor shot, shoot area target type, right? You're shooting rounds into a whole hex. So why would it matter if there's a small or large target in it? So that was our thinking on this one. So because you're not hitting anything per se.
Right.
So anyway, that's where that comes from. So you fire smoke into a hex, large or small target zone. They disagree with that. I'm not sure why, but whatever. C7, flamethrower to kill. Okay, so the flamethrower to kill rules are broken. This was a complete patchwork, but they do need the thing. Because now, basically, vehicles bounding fire flamethrowers are just devastatingly good. So we put some modifiers in there based on target. But we think that the whole rule needs to be rewritten where essentially you do it to hit roll and then a to kill roll. Okay.
So they did make some changes. They did make some changes with this one. So
yeah, they did something, yeah. So they tried. I'm gonna guess it's improved it again. I haven't read it, but yeah, it definitely needs a complete rewrite. We think it needs a to hit roll and then it followed by a to kill roll. So and with applicable modifiers like vehicles are in motion, concealment, stuff like that.
Size.
Shock recovery die roll. So this is the same as repair timing that you asked about. So you can roll the shock roll, when he's running up a tank behind you to shoot you in the ass. 34 smoke, non-smoke WP special ammo depletion. So this entire rule is to stop the double hit rule.
Correct.
Right? Like if you have an A4 and he moves a half track out there and you already got a 75 millimeter gun, normal 18 round is going to obliterate if it hits it.
Correct.
But you need a 4 to hit.
Take 2 shots.
You're right. You get 2 rolls for a 4, not just 1.
Yeah.
So essentially, this rule stops that. So we don't mess with smoke and white phosphorus because they usually have very high depletion numbers, and you're not double hitting with them, right? So the rule basically incentivizes you to save you no longer have a double hit roll. You basically roll to see if you have the ammo, and then you roll a normal to hit roll if you have it. And if you don't have it, nothing has happened, right? So there's no event. So essentially, because you now have to make 2 rolls, you're incentivized to, when you need a 8 to hit versus a 4 to hit. So you would roll for the ammo, maybe you need a 4, and then you need an 8. But because now technically that makes it harder,
right,
we've increased the chance you get a first round with the ammo, right? So if you have A4, if you roll a 6, you don't have it. No event. If you roll a 4 or 5, you actually get the round, make the to hit roll with that, and then essentially, if you roll a 3 or less, then you would have it and have another round. So anyway, that's what that is. We think it works pretty good. It can potentially screw up because the American 76L round is so powerful versus the normal round. You might want to consider being careful with that. because it really can end up, if he needs a 8 or 9 to hit your Panther, it could really end up, affecting things,
Yeah.
right? Well, especially if your A number's 4, we give you an A number 5 via the rule. Well, that almost, not quite, but almost doubles your chances of getting an A round. So, and if your A rounds are that powerful against Panthers, then use caution with the American 76L. That's all I say. Other than that, it works great. Smoke, white phosphorus, more red phosphorus. So this is actually, Steve was pushing this one that, and I'm kind of agnostic on it. I really don't care one way or the other. But essentially, mortars and mortars can't rate a fire with white phosphorus or smoke because, and basically the thinking behind it is they don't have that great a rate of fire more than a normal gun, that they would get this gigantic benefit where they can shoot, 4 smoke rounds if they roll lucky. So, and the thing is, like a little mortar, which though you're lucky to get one, if you get lucky on turn 1 and get 3 rates or 4 rates of fire and roll a 6 or less, you can smoke up the whole map. So that's the
I've seen
that
happen. I've seen that happen with mortars. Maybe reducing the rate of fire number would be a compromise or something.
Yeah, that would be another way to fix it. Either one, like I said, we kind of thought this was the way to go, but that would work too. MMP didn't like it, do the thing, and I can kind of see that point to a certain story too. So, but again, that's because I'm mostly agnostic on this. Smoke and white phosphorus malfunction. So this got its own special rule, because it's like we already changed the special ammo rule, right? But we didn't do it for smoke and white phosphorus because they have high depletion numbers. So this changes this to where now, if you're shooting smoke white phosphorus and you roll a 12, you just don't have the ammo, right? Your gun's not broken. You're not considered prep fire. You just don't have the ammo. So, and that's why it had to have its own special rule, because we essentially already fixed it for everything else inside the 34 rule. So that's where that's from. 37, towing penalty. Steve thinks towing down a road is too expensive. I'm agnostic on that one also. But he felt strongly about it, and I didn't really care either way. It's probably closer to accurate going down a road. We didn't change it over a field, because if you ever towed anything across open ground, it's open ground is not open ground like everybody thinks it is. It's like there's ruts and all the stuff, and you got a trailer bouncing through the field. It can be ugly. Okay, 38 fake die rolls. So I'm not sure. So you have to have fake die rolls. It's like you can't have a dummy tank be a dummy tank if you don't allow it to fake die rolls, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Panther can't. It has to take its start roll.
We
right?
usually take that roll. We usually, so I didn't know that you couldn't. That there was a rule against it. So
yeah. So
otherwise, it's a giveaway.
All 38 does is let you treat a dummy vehicle exactly like you would treat a normal vehicle. You make rolls, you can ESB, you can do anything you want to do. And it's a dummy tank as long as it's a dummy tank, right? And then we added, if you fall into a cellar as a dummy tank, you have to remove it, just because that could affect some of the scenarios with the casualty victory points and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that's why that's in there. I'm not sure why they don't like this one. Maybe it's just kind of a thing, but honestly, it's like, dummy stacks cannot deploy. So he kind of takes something further that we don't advocate, because honestly, you just can't have a dummy. Well, depending upon the thing, right? Because you're allowed to have a dummy Mark IV, and it can do all this stuff. I guess it technically can't take a bog roll, but it can move around and pretend to be a dummy tank. Where, yeah, and they actually don't even identify that. So what happens when you move a Mark IV into the thing?
If you have a T-34 and I have a Panther, we're gonna know very quickly which one's the dummy. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and
But
yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say I've thought long and hard also about dummy roll. I know this is about dummy tanks, not about dummy rolls, but I've thought long and hard about dummy rolls for anti-tank minefields. And I don't know a solution for it. But
well, that's why that is actually why they specifically stopped fake die rolls,
I see.
because people were doing fake anti-tank die rolls.
Gotcha.
And that's specifically why they said no more fake die rolls.
Yeah.
But is it really a fake die roll if you take it? And I don't know, what does the actual RB say? If you you have Mark IV, right? You have Mark IVs on the map, but one of them's a dummy. And you drive the dummy into a woods hex. You got to take a bog roll, don't you?
Well, yeah.
Or you're just removed for being a dummy. See, I don't know. So to me, they already allow some fake die rolls.
So if it's a real Mark IV, why is it a fake die roll if he's taking a bog check?
No, if it's a real Mark IV, it definitely takes a bog die roll. But
right.
say you have a dummy that's a Mark IV, right? You're pretending it's a Mark IV. Right. Are you just not allowed to move into a woods hex anymore?
No, I think you're allowed moving into a woods hex, and you don't lose concealment, but your opponent knows that it's a dummy.
Well, if that's the case, then it's completely pointless to do it, right?
Sniper bait. Better location.
No, you still use a sniper bait. Yeah. So yeah, you can still move it over by the sniper.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No,
but anyway, this lets a dummy be a dummy, and
yep.
I'm not quite sure why they don't like that, but they don't.
I'd have no problem with an opponent wanting to make a roll. I'd be like, make the roll. Yeah, I don't want to give away your units, your dummies.
Right. The game needs as much fog of war as you can get away with. ESP at the end of the move. So basically, if a unit's on its last hex and it tries the ESB, it becomes immobilized, but its movement phase is completely over instantly, and you can't shoot at it since it didn't technically spend a movement point. I don't know why they don't like this, but we do. I mean, some of this stuff is pretty esoteric and hardly ever comes up, but whatever. VCA changes. So this is another one of my pet peeves about ASL. So it's the final fire phase, right? And he ran up a tank destroyer, and you got a half track or a truck or something that can't hurt him. And essentially, during your final fire phase, there's a woods hex to either side of you, but your vehicle covered arc is facing the exact path you want. You can't change your covered arc. So then, during your movement phase, so this guy just run up, 1,000 yards straight at you, and because of the sequence of play or because the way pieces move, you just sitting there watching him run up this road, stopping 2 hexes away from you, so you can't get out of his covered arc, and then during your turn, you're dead, right? But if you got a bow machine gun, you can change your covered arc so your first movement point you can get out of his line of sight. But if you have an AA machine gun or you're unarmed, you can't, which is just dumb. I mean, it's just completely dumb. So we changed this so if you have any eligible weapon fire or you're an unarmed vehicle, at the end of your defensive or during defensive fire phase, you can change your VCA with all that entails. Like if you're in woods, you got to take fog, So, excuse me. So we think it works a lot better. It shouldn't be advantage to have a bow machine gun versus an AA machine gun. It's illogical, right? Optional. So 41 goes back to kind of they changed motion a long time ago. So the problem with this is you have to take a motion attempt against an opposing unit while it's moving. So this results in some weirdness. So back in the day, you had a vehicle. You could take your motion attempt in the middle of the turn like you do now. Like if somebody's going to bounty fire at you, they got a pretty decent chance to hit you. You go in motion, whatever. But if he's rolling for a 3 or 4, you don't necessarily do that. You may wait to the end of the turn to go in motion. But the way the rules are written now, you have to take the motion check during that unit's movement. So, which is different from what it was 30 years ago. So this, and we made it optional because we had people who disagreed with it. So, but I like this rule. I think this rule works way better. And it does require a little bit of bookkeeping, and we just say, okay, you put a die next to all your vehicles, and essentially you keep track of whatever the thing that spent the most movement points are. And so then you can take your motion checks at the end of the defender's movement phase when all's said and done and whatever. And the thing that this fixes is a good player, say he's entering 4 Panthers from off map, and you have a Sherman sitting there. He'll take the first Sherman, the first Panther, and he'll drive it up and spend 13 out of your line of sight. And then he'll move it into your line of sight for 14, stop 15, point right at you. So now you got to take a motion attempt if you're going to take one, right? You need a 1 or 2, so you got a 33% chance of failure. So do you take it? Well, the problem is if you do take it and miss it,
you're just going to run in
then
on
the
you.
second tank drives up 2 hexes away from you and spends 10 movement factors in your line of sight. You've already taken a motion check, and you can't do anything about it, and you get blown up and die. Well, if you don't take it, then he just takes his 3 Panthers and moves them wherever, not in your line of sight, and now you can never take a motion check, and the first guy that saw you then blows you up during, his defensive fire of the next turn. So this fixes that. Like I said, we had some disagreement. That's why we made it optional. I think it works much better like this because I think it's gamey. People, moving guys and then setting up, if you don't take it, you're dead. If you do take it and you miss, you're dead. So, but anyway, so that's where that came from.
Just for the record, I used to play it the way that you're suggesting, and I thought that was the rule. And then I was corrected. I was at a tournament, and they said, "Oh no! It's during this unit's movement phase. You have to, And I said, I thought I read that, and it said during the movement phase, not during the unit's movement phase.
So basically, everybody on the entire planet. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's an exaggeration. But basically, everybody who was in the tournament circuit, 2005 or earlier maybe, all played this way.
Right.
And then the rules lawyer got involved, exactly what you said, and they didn't have a comma in the right place or whatever, or the instead of the, and it got changed. And it's been that way ever since then. So yes. So you aren't incorrect in that. You used to play it one way, but then essentially the interpretation changed. Yeah. And so now it is like it is. So this takes it back to where it was before. If you want to play with it. And like I said, these are all optional rules. You don't have to play with any of them. I think they make for a better game, but, well, and really, yes, does it add bookkeeping? Yes, it adds a little bookkeeping, unless you're playing a scenario with 40 vehicles on each side and tons of terrain where they can't see each other. But, yeah, it's basically a non-event as far as I'm concerned. So 42 mechanical reliability DR. So this is kind of like the exact same version of taking the 12s out of the game. Because you simply can't play test when a guy on turn 1 starts his King Tiger and rolls a 12. So this cuts down the chance that a single 12 will totally screw, a tank.
I
And
was playing Pete Schelling in a tournament, and I had some Russians or something, and he had a tiger, an early war tiger, and he stopped him. And then on turn 2, he tried to start him, rolled a 12, and the game was over. His
yeah,
his only asset was gone. There went the tiger.
yeah, and no, it happens, and it happens 1 in every 36 times you try to spend a start point, which is crazy often when you actually think about it. And so this does the same thing. It doesn't completely get rid. If you roll back-to-back 12s, you're screwed. But it makes it a lot less likely. And you even have a little heads up after you roll your first 12. Maybe next time you stop, you better stop where you want to stay. So anyway, so 43 is motion and hold down. So this gets to the fact where, say you're sitting in crest status and you want a bunch of guys are shooting at you and you want to back out. Well, in ASL, as soon as you spend a start point, your hold down status is gone. So all those guys shooting at you are no longer shooting hold down, and your chances of dying is probably way greater. So this allows you to back out of a crest status, hold down crest, or held down. I guess it is not crest, but on a slope, not slope, a crest line, without losing your hold down status. So when you expend that start point, you're still hold down for your next movement point. So you can start, your hold down, and then you move out of line of sight, and the game continues.
I didn't even realize you lost it right away until you actually moved. So it makes sense now that you say it because you're in motion. But I don't think I've ever played it that way because it's nonsensical. You haven't changed your position at all.
Right. And it's kind of like you turn on the engine, and all of a sudden now you're no longer hold down.
Right.
So we think it plays better. Obviously, MMP disagrees shockingly. So whatever. Okay. 44 Underbelly Vertex. So we change it from attacker to firer's choice because essentially if you're doing underbelly hits, especially on Bocage hides a lot of line of sights by the fact you can't see down the hex rows.
Yeah.
So this allows you to potentially get an underbelly hit versus the guy driving the tank can pick to somewhere nobody can see him type thing. So 45 is stun flip. So the stun rules, which actually 99% of the time work fine, it's kind of goofy that depending upon when you get stunned is how fast you can get unstunned, right? How fast you can get seized. So if you get stunned on your own player turn, it's going to be a lot longer before you can become CE versus you got stunned on the other guy's player turn. So we essentially allow when you flip your stun counter over, you can essentially go CE if you want to, right? Just
so
if you want to go back CE, it's dangerous. You've already been stunned once, but you can go CE when you flip your stun counter.
So anybody who doesn't realize the significance in this, play Haddon in Flames because the American tank destroyers, the Germans just need a squad and a light machine gun, and that's an 8 up 2. And they're going to break the American crew because they only have a 7 morale in the tank destroyer. And then they are going to be out of commission for 3 turns. So while they can't fire anything. They can't fire their AA machine gun, can't fire their main armament. They're just stuck, buttoned up. So it's absolutely a strategy to use when you're playing against American tank destroyers. To just shoot at them with your infantry, and then just deal with them with a Panzerschreck or a Panzerfaust or close combat, and you wipe them out. They're almost useless at short range because they're so easy to take out that way. So yeah, I totally understand that. It is kind of nonsensical. So during the American turn, you button them up, and then it's the German turn, and and they stay buttoned up, and as the American turn, they still can't prep fire, have to wait till the movement phase before they
Yep.
become crew exposed again.
Yep. So yeah, and that's exactly why this came about.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what that is. 46. This actually just changes a fixed uh, coaxial machine gun now becomes exactly like a bow machine gun for everything. Right? So, I mean, I shouldn't say everything because you can still use it in close combat. But now if you're on bypass, you can't because it's fixed. So, and that's where that comes from. Or if you're mobilized, you
Oh, you
can't
mean
use.
fixed, like fixed to the covered arc of the vehicle, not repaired. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha. Okay.
So yeah. So like certain things like a Stug 3G has a 4 coaxial machine gun, but it can only be fired through the VCA.
Yeah.
So essentially, if the Stug's mobilized, then it gets treated as a bow light machine gun, which can't fire after the initial close combat roll.
Gotcha.
So that's it. So that's it.
That's 46. Wow,
That's
I can't believe we did that. I was like, we'll do 12. 46 is impossible. But we did it, and we did it in good time, less than 2 hours. Let me ask you a question. If you could choose one and force feed it through the system, the most important one in your mind that you would change for the benefit of the game.
Can I have 2?
Yeah, you can have 2. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I would say I would pick the intensive fire rule
Yeah.
for guns
Okay.
because I think that has a dramatic impact on the defender, and the fact is anti-tank guns are just not nearly as good. And I would do the 12s, the minor malfunction rule,
Yeah.
which would, I think, takes a ton of 12s out of it. I mean, the MMP basically says, 2s are great, 12s are bad, but the 12s have the ability to ruin a game. It doesn't ruin a game when you don't get a hero, right? It's like you roll a snake eyes. I mean, that's great. You might get a hero. You might battle hard. You also may berserk and die, and whatever. But when you're firing a smoke round, or there's just way too many malfunctions in the game. I mean, because every 1 in 36 times, and if it's a small scenario, and you have one king tiger or one tiger, it's your only anti-tank defense, and its first roll he rolls a 12, which happens 1 in 36 times. Then now what do?
Yeah.
Do you try to fix it? Do you not try to fix it? I mean, the game 12s are just way too bad for how common they are, and especially, I mean, any scenario can screw up, but especially in a small scenario, it can just totally ruin it. And I mean, what's the point? Who cares? You may break it, and then you may roll 10 3s to 6s for the rest of the game. So it never got another shot. But you got to roll, got to do other stuff with it. It didn't just drive home. So that would be my 2.
Okay. Another question. Do you see any of these? Let's say they would have gone through all wholesale, exactly like you and Steve have proposed. Do you see any issues with the balance of the scenarios that were worked out using the old rules, or it's still pretty inconsequential to?
I would say no. I mean, I've been playing with most of these rules for the last 15 years or even 20 years. It's like I use them all the time. And so no, I don't think it affects balance. Um, I will put an asterisk on that with the American 76LA rule, depending upon what the A number is. But no, I don't think it really appreciably affects balance either way.
How about the bocage rules? Do you notice that sways it towards the defender a little bit more, makes them a little bit too strong?
I will have to say, I just don't know. I can't actually fairly answer that question because I just haven't played enough bocage scenarios using the new bocage rules. I mean, I don't think it would, but I could be 100% wrong about that too.
Yeah.
So
worth a
you
try.
know, we do take out the fact that the defender can't hide after he defensive first fires. But again, he gets to keep his concealment when he shoots too. So I'm not sure who that favors more. So I don't know. So, but I can't fairly answer that question because I just don't know. Well, off the top of my head, I would say I don't think so, but I could be 100% wrong too.
Wonderful. Anything you want to add?
No, no. It was enjoyable. I enjoy it. Thanks, Derek.
I had a
I
great
will
time.
say to anybody who watches this is a living list. And if you have something you hate about one of the rules, send me an email. I've already got a couple more that we'll be adding into. It's like a motion vehicle can't take wall advantage is one of the ones that's at the top of that list. For the same reason that a motion vehicle can't keep guys in triple point blank fire rule. But this is more for the fact that okay, and this just came up. So I'm playing Hat and Flames with Michael, and I'm using a German half track to run down and grab wall advantage away from a concealment count. And I'm leaving him in motion, so he's harder to hit.
Yeah.
And then once I have the wall advantage, because he's a dummy, most likely he's a dummy, but I could just give it up. Then I can run somebody up, and now he gets the wall.
Because your half track has it and the dummies lost it, or the real guy lost it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Smart.
Yeah. And so we're trying to take out stuff where, if you're not stacked, how can you maintain wall advantage?
Yeah.
I mean, you're driving 40 miles an hour past the wall, but because the way the sequence of play works, you have it. So,
okay.
So that's the next one that's getting fixed. But there's a couple more. I will tell your viewers, if you have something that you think is screwed up, send me an email and we're going to expand this.
Okay. So. I've got something I don't think is screwed up, but I wanted to try just for fun. Just for fun.
You don't think it's screwed up? So
I don't think it's screwed up.
I
don't think it's screwed up, but I think we could have some fun with this. Two things. Both of them completely not necessary. Not trying to fix anything because nothing's broken here. OBA, you pick your target hex wherever it lands. You do a random die roll for where the 7 come down, and you have it. So you could get the same hex getting hit twice. You could get a hex 3 hexes out getting hit once. So it's not just that pattern every time, because the gun, just for fun, not saying it's a better system at all. Second one, if you ever played Avalon Hill, just think about that one for a second. If you ever played Avalon Hill's Hitler's War, you had variable movement, where the further you moved, the less chance you could move another hex. I always found it gamey that you knew that you weren't going to trip over a log, you were going to make it, barring breaking or pinning, you were going to make it exactly to that building. You had enough to do it if you CX. But on your one hex short of it, you using all your movement points, you roll a die, you roll a 6, you stop one hex short. You're stuck in the middle of the road. On your final movement point, if you do get to spend it, you roll another die, you roll a 1, you get another movement point, another movement factor. Just for fun. Nothing's broken. Just for fun.
I've never played Hitler's War.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea, but I think I like that idea on a operational strategic level.
Yeah, that's exactly what this was. Grand strategic. Yeah.
If you're doing maybe even a regimental level.
Yeah.
On a tactical level, I mean the most tactical of tactical levels. I'm not sure I love that. I don't necessarily hate it.
Yeah.
But it would involve a lot of die rolls and. But yeah, I have to say I don't hate it.
Well, you have to keep in mind this is coming from a guy who came up with Tim Drunken ASL, where every time you roll a 12, you got to take a shot, and right, and Speed ASL, where we had a chess clock, and you were just rushing through your moves, hitting that clock, trying to get the other guy to run out.
I also support that.
Yeah.
I'd rather move fast than move accurately.
Yes.
My accurate days are behind me.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, Mike, it has been such an incredible pleasure, and I really hope we get to do this again. And and I learned.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I learned a lot and got a lot of clarity from everything you explained. So thank you very much, and thanks to Steve for putting all the work in, because I know it's a lot of work to get this stuff right and send it in for everybody's benefit, and we're all grateful as a community.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, and anytime.
All right, Mike. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Cape Coral, give me a buzz. I got plenty of room, and we'll play some games.
Absolutely. I don't know if you remember, and I'll edit this out too, but the one time we played, you were kicking my ass, and then luckily one of your football teams was playing, and
it was
you
Thursday
bailed.
night.
Yes.
Bucks were playing.
Oh, there you go. All right.
As soon as we set up, I'm quitting at 8 o'clock.
I know,
I'm
I
surrendering
remember.
at 8 o'clock. if we didn't fit.
I dragged that thing out as much as I could.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Thanks, Mike. All right, bud.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you go.
Okay.
You have a wonderful day.
It's a pleasure.
All right, talk to you later.
Take care.
All right, bye.